गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गनर शॉट। गनर शॉट में आप सबको स्वागत है। प्रणाम, वणक्कम एंड जय हिंद। आज हम करेंगे हमारा नेबरहुड स्कैन, हमारा इर्द गिर्द हमारे पड़ोसी देशों में क्या हो रहा है। और ये इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक के बारे में बात करने के लिए मेरे साथ हैं हमारे पुराने डीजीएमओ जनरल विनोद भाटिया। सर, गुड इवनिंग and welcome to Gunner Shot, and a very happy new year to you, because this is the first time for this year you're coming on Gunner Shot.
Thank you very much, Jai Hind. Happy New Year, and to all your viewers also, wishing the very best for the new year, happiness and success always.
तो जैसे हमने ये नया साल शुरू किया है, हमारे जो नेबर्स हैं, राइट, बहुत हैं। If you leave Pakistan and China at this point of time out of the equation, नेपाल ले लिए, भूटान ले लीजिए, म्यांमार, श्रीलंका, मालदीव्स और अफगानिस्तान, वो अपने अपने प्रॉब्लम्स में जूझ रहे हैं। एक नंबर दो, अगर आप देखेंगे तो नेपाल, भूटान, बांग्लादेश, इंडिया, राइट, और पोटेंशियली इवन श्रीलंका में एंड पाकिस्तान में इस साल इलेक्शंस होने वाले हैं। इससे क्या है कि पॉलिटिकली, इंटरनली एंड एक्सटर्नली काफी बदलाव आ जाएगा। और तीसरी बात, अगर आप देखेंगे, मैप से बड़ा क्लियर है, ये जितने देश हैं हमारे इर्द गिर्द, इनका कनेक्टिविटी एक दूसरे से नहीं है। इनका कनेक्टिविटी सिर्फ इंडिया के जरिए है, एटलीस्ट इन साउथ एशिया। अगर आप चाइना को छोड़ दोगे, चाइना तो बड़ा देश है, राइट। तो इंडिया बिकम्स द फल्क्रम ऑफ दिस साउथ एशिया, जो कंस्ट्रक्ट बोल रहे हो, या सब कॉन्टिनेंटल कंस्ट्रक्ट। और हमारा एक नेबरहुड फर्स्ट पॉलिसी भी है। ओके, अगर हम ये सब मद्देनजर रख के देखते हैं तो हमारा नेबरहुड पॉलिसी, अगर पिछले 5-6 साल का हिसाब लेंगे, कुछ सक्सेसेस हैं और कुछ फेलियर्स भी हैं, और कहीं जगह में कमियां भी हैं। पर आज के दिन हमारा नेबरहुड में कुछ बदलाव हो रहा है। देयर इज अ चेंज। चाहे भूटान ले लो, चाहे नेपाल ले लो, मालदीव्स ले लीजिए, श्रीलंका ले लीजिए, म्यांमार ले लीजिए, और कुछ ना कुछ तनाव भी हो रहा है। और उसके साथ साथ ये सब असर इंडियन ओशन रीजन में भी पड़ता है। सो और नेबर्स और नेबरहुड फर्स्ट पॉलिसी मेरे ख्याल में बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है, अगर हमें अपना अमृतकाल का लक्ष्य पाना है, या हमारा राइज सही तरीके से होना है। तो इन चीजों के बारे में वी वुड लाइक डिस्कशन विद यू एंड योर व्यूज, प्लीज। ओवर टू यू, सर।
Thank you, General Shankar. Always a pleasure being on your platform, Gunner Shot. सीखने को मिलता है, आपके व्यूअर्स जो क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन होते हैं वो भी। जैसा आपने बोला कि 2024 इलेक्शन ईयर, साउथ एशिया में नहीं पूरे वर्ल्ड में 64
वर्ल्ड में, yes, there are 40, yeah,
64
yes,
countries
sir,
are going for elections this year, out of which 4.2 billion people, which is more than 50% of world's population, will be voting. And the oldest democracy, US, and the largest democracy, India, are both going for elections. In the South Asian region, अगर हमारी रीजन में आप देखें, हमारे नेबरहुड में देखें, तो सबसे पहले तो बांग्लादेश का इलेक्शन है 7 तारीख को, another 72 hours. Followed by Bhutan on the 9th of January. Followed by Nepal on the 25th of January. Followed by Pakistan on the 8th of February. And Sri Lanka at a later date. Afghanistan, we know that Taliban is there. And Myanmar में तो military rule है ही है. So this is a very interesting time, and this is a very interesting topic, because we are talking of possible the same governments continue, possible new governments coming in, new dispensations with new policies, with new aspirations. And what are the aspirations from two? All countries. One is internal, which is their own internal aspirations, और दूसरे उसके एस्पिरेशन कहाँ से? इंडिया से है, बिकॉज द कनेक्टिविटी इज इंडिया, राइट। इंडिया, आई विल नॉट से, बिकॉज हमें नहीं बोलना चाहिए कभी भी कि हम ये हमारे नेबरिंग कंट्रीज को, कभी कभी हम गलती करते हैं, बोलते हैं स्मॉल स्टेट्स. इट इज नॉट सो. दीज स्टेट्स आर नॉट स्मॉल स्टेट्स, दे आर बिग स्टेट्स, राइट. द प्रॉब्लम इज दे आर न्यू स्टेट्स एंड ओल्ड नेशंस. When I say new states, means because of the British rule for 2 centuries, बट नेशन सब के सब ओल्ड हैं, ये स्टेट्स नहीं हुए, चाहे पाकिस्तान हो, चाहे पाकिस्तान एंड इंडिया कॉन्जॉइंट एट बर्थ इन 1947, Bangladesh 71, Nepal of course an old kingdom, Bhutan an old kingdom, Sri Lanka again a British protectorate and a colony, Myanmar. तो ये सब देखते हुए हमें ये इनके एस्पिरेशन जो लोगों की हैं यहाँ के, and this is the most populous place in the world. 25% of the world's population is South Asia, right? And but area-wise it's less than 10%. So when we talk of the region, we'll have to look at the region as a whole and how it impacts India. And India की इसमें policies हैं, एक तो neighborhood first policy है हमारी, जो अच्छी policy है, and like you rightly said, there've been many pluses and there are many minuses also. Somewhere we have met the aspirations of our neighbors, somewhere we have not met the aspirations. But the second one is very important, which is the vision of our Prime Minister, which is Sagar, security and growth for all in the region. When we talk about Sagar, we are we have the resource, and we have to invest not in the dispensation of the country, but in the people of the country, and that is something which at times we have succeeded, and at times we have not succeeded. Right. So this becomes a very important thing. Let me start by taking Bangladesh first. Bangladesh goes to election 7th, and hope for the sake of Bangladesh, for the sake of the region, for the sake of India. Though I'm not a political person, but looking at the policies of the governments, the past governments, BNP has decided not to stand in elections. Jamaat is there, and there is a definitely an anti-India feeling in Jamaat. It was very visible. Even during the cricket matches for the World Cup, you could see some of the videos. But that does not actually, वो पूरा देश के जो है बांग्लादेशियों का सबका नहीं दिखाता है वो. It's a section of it, and section of people there which support, I suppose, support Jamaat. But the Awami League government has been very good. We have a very many positives. 2015 का जो हमारा 40 साल से चल रहा था जो लैंड बॉर्डर एग्रीमेंट था, जो पाकिस्तान बांग्लादेश इंडिया का वो था, and there are certain of course issues. All neighborly issues. Neighbors are, the Tista water disputes continues. They have got aspirations, but today Bangladesh is doing very well internally. Their per capita income is crossed India. Economically, they're doing very well. The ready-made garment manufacturing sector is doing very well. So we find there are a lot of positives in Bangladesh. And Bangladesh, I think, is, and if you ask me personally, I think Bangladesh is very important to India, and India is very important to Bangladesh. It is mutual. Why I say that is कि अगर हम देखें तो हमारे जो 8.5 states हैं, जिसको हम नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न स्टेट्स बोलते हैं, बड़े आसानी से नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न स्टेट्स बोल देते हैं, काफी लोग हम गलती करते हैं. ये दे आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू अस. दे आर पार्ट ऑफ आवर कंट्री. There's a small corridor which is called Siliguri corridor, which connects the 8.5 states and 5.5 crore people. Right? And China is threatening at Doklam, which is the northern end of the Siliguri corridor, and threatening India. So we, in any case, need better connectivity through Bangladesh, which has been agreed upon. It's not been agreed upon, both by deal by this thing. And we cut down the time, we cut down the costs, and we have better connectivity. So Bangladesh becomes very important. We join projects also. And also now recently, very recently, 2 दिन पहले की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं, कि हमने जो उल्फा के साथ accord किया है, which is a peace accord with Ulfa, that becomes very important again, because some of the Indian insurgent groups were being, I will not say supported, but had the leeway to move into the border areas, cross over when the pressure was high. Bangladesh हो चाहे सदर्न भूटान, तो बहुत पहले, सदर्न भूटान तो नहीं है, 2003 दिसंबर में जब भूटान ने जब ऑल क्लियर किया था, तो थोड़ी सिक्योरिटी इश्यूज भी हैं. But again, we have to understand that there are certain gray areas in the Indo-Bangladesh relations. One of them is the fence, where they feel that we use excessive force for immigrants who come over. The call for the NCR or the CA does not go well with the Bangladeshi people. So that will have to be managed. It's a question of perception. It's a question of reaching out to see what we are doing. And then the water. 52 rivers oblique, streams go from India to Bangladesh. And we are the upper riparian, the lower riparian. So there are issues of water. So these are the problem areas. But on the plus side, I think the two governments are, especially the two dispensations at present, the Awami League and the government of India, are looking ahead, looking forward. A number of joint projects are there. Economic, by the way, Bangladesh is the largest trading partner in the region for India, and for Bangladesh also India is the largest trading partner. So there's a trade connect. There's economic connect and commerce connect is very important, and people to people connect also. You'll find a lot of Bangladeshis who come to India for treatment, for medical treatment, for tourism and other things. And so to India is also going across. So I think we'll have to wait for the elections, though I do feel, as per the indicators that are coming out, that the Awami League government is most likely to win. They provide good governance, good administration. However, India will have to keep a watch for what happens and then carry forward. We should deal with the government of the day in every country. और जरूरी बात है कि हमको लोगों में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए. We should invest in the people of the country rather than the dispensation of the country, because that is what is expected from this. India, being India, there is a expectation. So Bangladesh, I think, is exceedingly important, and we have done reasonably well in Bangladesh. Also, let me not, when I talk of Sagar, I should also talk of BIMSTEC. I should talk of bilateral agreements between the two countries. So these are the pluses. On the minus side is, like I said, certain section of the people are anti-India. Certain sections. Right? No, I'm not saying win them over. We don't have to win them over, but we have to keep investing in the people. And the example I always give Afghanistan. See, Afghanistan governments badli hui, sab kuch badli hui. But we had invested in the people of Afghanistan. It is visible. There's a high visibility of the Indian projects in Afghanistan. And the people of Afghanistan, if you, even in Delhi, Bangalore and other places, Pune, you find a lot of Afghanistan come for medical treatment. We're very friendly to them. So that sort of a thing, that model of investing in the people, I think it is required in all our neighboring countries. So that is as far as Bangladesh concerned. Anything in particular you want me to cover Bangladesh? I can go.
No, sir, we are fine. We could go to the other countries in the region.
Okay, right.
जिस तरीके से आप चाहते हैं.
हाँ, ठीक है. तो ये बांग्लादेश का है, and we will have to carry forward the projects of basically the communication links. Which we are already in advanced stages, right? Advanced stages of communication link with the next government. Bhutan has been, I think, Bhutan and India have a very strong relations always, very, very strong relations. Bhutan is a neighbor and a very well-respected neighbor, and they go to election next on the 9th of January, right? Fortunately for us, all parties in Bhutan, all the 5 parties competing in elections, have got a similar agenda vis-a-vis, India is concerned. So that is a positive. I think our relations with Bhutan will continue. The only जो अड़चन मैं वहाँ भूटान में देखता हूँ, वो pressure on China है. ठीक है. Bhutan does not have diplomatic
ties with China.
With China, right? Because they deal through the embassy in New Delhi. But the Chinese pressure is there, economic pressures are there, and Chinese pressures are there. They're in talks, boundary talks are there. I think 24th boundary talks are taking place. There are indicators coming that they want to resolve, China wants to resolve the boundary issue, and China has always wanted to resolve the boundary issue at their own terms, right? When they say that you can take the central region, but the western region of which is basically the area of Doklam and Western Bhutan, which is the area which is west of the Masakondu Ridge, the Chumbi Valley, which you know is Chumbi Valley, on either side of Tremochu. That becomes very important to us because that gives an access to China to address a strategic concern, strategic vulnerability. But let me also say, having said that, let me take a minute more on that. Chumbi Valley is the vulnerability of China.
Yes.
Right? It's a very narrow valley. So we just have to change our, beef up our security a little. It is not that वो चुम्बी वैली से आ जाएगा, डोकलम से आ जाएगा, मैं कर देगा. हम बैठे हैं वहां पर भाई. हम भी तैयार हैं. We have the requisite holding power out there. We got the requisite heights out there. मतलब we hold the Tulila Ridge from Batangla to Gamochin and beyond to Chandori Ridge and others. We hold that ridges. तो ऐसा कोई वो बड़ी बात नहीं है उसमें. वो नेशन है, कंट्री कर रहे हैं, करेंगे. क्या फाइनल क्या होता है हमें पता नहीं है. वी डोंट नो एक्चुअली. बट विद भूटान, fortunately, all parties, though a democratic nation, all parties still respect the crown out there. And India has excellent linkages with the people, with the dispensations, and with the crown. So Bhutan, I see our relations will continue to grow, continue to strengthen. There are economic projects out there, especially the power projects which are there. We are the power users. We have given them access to Bangladesh through our territories. Ports are there. We give them access to Calcutta, and we give them access to everything. Right? And similarly, they also reciprocate by making sure that the Indians don't need a visa. A Bhutanese visa for tourism is very costly, by the way.
Yes, sir.
It's very costly. Bhutan doesn't encourage cheap tourism. They only encourage high-end tourism, rightly so. But they have preserved their culture. It's hats off the way the Bhutanese people have preserved their culture, and they talk of happiness index. So that linkages will continue with India, and also Bhutan treats the states, whether it's North Bengal or Assam, as their neighbors, and Arunachal as their neighbors. So that is Sikkim as their neighbors. So that is so Bhutan continues. We'll have to watch what happens in the boundary talks, and we should take steps to meet and mitigate the China challenge through Bhutan.
Yes, I agree with you. मैं सिर्फ दो चीज जो आपने बोला है भूटान के बारे में, आई वांट टू रीइंफोर्स. एक तो जहां आपने बोला चुम्बी वैली, डोकलम, सब सोचते हैं कि डोकलम के थ्रू सिलीगुड़ी कॉरिडोर कट ऑफ करेंगे वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. ये आम सोच है. पर जो आपने बात किया कि हम भी कुछ कर सकते हैं क्योंकि चुम्बी वैली इज अ नैरो वैली, राइट. मेरा मानना यह है कि चुम्बी वैली एक जीप की तरह है. अगर ज्यादा जीप फैला दिया, बाहर निकाल दिया चाइना ने, उसको हम काट भी सकते हैं. इससे ज्यादा मैं बोलूंगा नहीं आज के दिन, राइट. जहां तक भूटान का ताल्लुक है, बहुत लोगों को ये भी नहीं पता होगा कि वेस्टर्न भूटान और ईस्टर्न भूटान का कनेक्शन कम है. उनका रोड कनेक्टिविटी कम है. तो उनका कनेक्टिविटी बाय रोड या सांद्रुप जोंकार से टू फुनसलिंग और फुनसलिंग टू सांद्रुप जोंकार, वो असम और बंगाल की तरह थ्रू होता है. तो वो जो दैट कनेक्टिविटी इज एब्सोल्युटली विच समथिंग विच कैन नॉट बी विश्ड अवे. अगर वो सेंट्रल भूटान का रूट खुल भी जाता है कुछ दिन के बाद, जब भी वो खुलेगा, द ट्रैफिक ऑन दैट रूट विल बी लिमिटेड. So the fundamental connectivity is through इंडिया. और दूसरी बात है, जहां तक भूटान का नाता है विद चाइना, चाइना के साथ उनका कनेक्टिविटी बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं है. वो इधर थ्रू चिम्बू वैली, वो जेलप्ला वगैरह रीजन है, या नॉर्दर्न रीजन्स हैं विच आर ऑलमोस्ट इनहॉस्पिटेबल, या अराउंड ट्राई जंक्शन विद अरुणाचल ईस्टर्न. वो एक ही रास्ता है, उनका कनेक्टिविटी नहीं है. उनका पीपल टू पीपल कनेक्टिविटी तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं है. So to that extent, Bhutan or China ka relations cannot have a limit because to go. But China has the advantage of giving money to Bhutan, and that is where we have to step in and help the Bhutanese out. क्योंकि जैसे एक और चीज जो आपने बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बताया है, वो है ग्रॉस नेशनल हैप्पीनेस इंडेक्स. क्योंकि भूटान doesn't believe in GDP, it believes in happiness index. So that's a very important thing, and I think our relations with Bhutan should only grow and will only grow. तो आप सर नेक्स्ट जो भी कंट्री लेना चाहते हैं आप शुरू कीजिए. आई थिंक वी कैन टेक नेपाल बिकॉज साथ ही पड़ता है.
यू राइटली कवर्ड. चाइना और भूटान के बीच में कोई रोड कनेक्टिविटी नहीं है. There's no road which connects even from Chumbi Valley across the MK Ridge.
Yes,
नॉर्थ
yes,
से तो आ
yes.
नहीं सकते, टेरेन नहीं है, ईस्ट में भी
Uh,
लिमिटेड कनेक्टिविटी है, कनेक्टिविटी नहीं है उनकी. बट यस, द चाइनीज कंट्रैक्टर्स आर देयर, चाइनीज कंट्रैक्टर्स एवरीवेयर. But I don't think that's a worrisome case. I think Bhutanese people are, over the years, their cultural linkages, their ethnic linkages, people to people contact. And Bhutan is the only country which has, you know, Operation All Clear in December 2003, where they acted against the Indian insurgent groups which had taken shelter in South
in
Bhutan.
the southern Bhutan, yes.
Right. So we have to grant it to them. They fought against the. No other country does that actually. They have pushed them out on their own and taken casualties and pushed them out and cleaned that country. So I think we also should we are very grateful to the people of Bhutan. So I think our lecture is very, very good.
Yes, sir.
Normally, yes, too. And if the right central Bhutan से अगर वो जाएंगे इस SJ से फुनसलिंग तो उनको बहुत टाइम वाइज बहुत कॉस्टली पड़ता है. तो the linkages by फुनसलिंग by Assam on the main highway, national highway 30 which आगे जो है Nepal is I will say a country which has very old civilization linkages in India. Very right civilization linkages है 10,000 साल पुराने linkages. एथनिक लिंकेजेस हैं उनके जो साउथ नेपाल में तराई एरिया में हैं और मदेशीज हैं हमारे जो नदर्न इंडिया में है बिहार में है यूपी में है उत्तराखंड में है देयर लिंकेजेस वेरी क्लोज लिंकेजेस बट ऑफ लेट वी सी नेपाल कमिंग अंडर द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ चाइना. चाइना का कंटेनमेंट जो इंडिया का है जो स्ट्रिंग ऑफ पर्ल्स बोलते हैं चाइना की पॉलिसी कंटेनमेंट की है. वो बड़े बड़े सारे लोग बोलते हैं चाइना ने जो ईस्टर्न लद्दाख में किया है वेस्टर्न सेक्टर में किया है वो एक रोड है डीबीओ की जो बन गई ना फ्रॉम दरबुक टू श्योक टू डीबीओ रोड्स की दैट रोड हैज गॉट नथिंग टू डू. इट इज बेसिकली कंटेनमेंट ऑफ इंडिया राइट बिकॉज इंडिया इज द राइजिंग पावर एंड चाइना डजंट वांट अ चैलेंजर इन एशिया. So now what does he do? He's stepping into our neighborhood, the string of pearls. And नेपाल में उसने काफी हद तक उसने जो पहले नहीं था अपने चाइना स्टडी सेंटर साउथ नेपाल में बना दिए हैं. उनको रेल लिंक बना रहा है तक रोड्स बना रहे हैं. तो चाइनीज आर प्रोवाइडिंग गुड इकोनॉमिक एड एंड ये नहीं कि हमने नहीं किया हम भी तो बहुत सालों से कर रहे हैं. बट आई थिंक वी हैव टू मीट द एस्पिरेशंस ऑफ द पीपल ऑफ नेपाल. नेपाल में टूरिज्म जो है बेसिकली इंडियन टूरिस्ट है वहाँ पर. They have restricted carrying more than 25,000 rupees. So 20,000 rupees is not very much of our money. Unfortunately, if you go to Nepal, they don't exchange. Right? You can only exchange either 200 rupee notes and 100 rupee notes. 500 note वो change नहीं करते हैं because whatever reason they suffer during the demonetization. And fortunately, because ethnic linkages, Indian tourists are still welcome. India is still welcome. India is still thought of. But at the but there is a feeling of China taking advantage, and especially with the Agniveer scheme now, Agnipath scheme now, and the Agniveer not being enrolled, we have invested in the people out there with with our own former soldiers, Indian Army soldiers. And they're pro-India, very this thing, and not only they, their families. Each soldier or a former soldier supports 8 to 10 of the family. Each soldier who's serving in the Indian Army supports 8 to 10. There was a time when Nepal made the chief of the army staff had a serving major general in the Indian Army. Right. But with the Agnipath scheme coming in, I think we are going to lose out on the goodwill at the ground level. We still have ex-servicemen, but they are also confused now. I also am not too sure how it's going to pan out because there's no recruitment from Nepal anymore. So I think we are losing out a certain space which was ours for a very long time, traditionally ours. So that
historically
ours, traditionally ours. और ये जो हमारे, मैं कहूँगा हमारे जो मिलन था ना, जो एक का, ठीक है, वो जो है वो कमजोर पड़ रहा है। एंड Nepal at the behest of, it said at the behest of China, raised the issue of Kala Pani, right? Uh, so we'll have to, when we say neighborhood first, we'll have to, reach out to the people of Nepal and tell them this is what it is. I think it's more of a question of understanding. These are our compulsions. We have been together for, I think the first Gurkha unit was raised in 1815 after the 1815, when the Britishers fought the Gurkhas in Dehradun. And the first unit, I think 111 GR was, 11 GR was in 1850, if I'm not mistaken. I think I'm right. So it go back, nearly
Long backs.
200 years plus. So we'll have to, reach out to the to these people and tell them what is what. Reach out to the government, and everything that Nepal does own interest. There's no. If we were in their condition, we would also play the China card and the India card. तो ये तो होगा ही होगा. But we should invest in Nepal. Nepal is very important because it is the Himalayan kingdom. It is a buffer between, this thing, and the people are very good. People, ethnic similarities हैं हमारे पास, and it's the oldest kingdom, one of the oldest kingdoms. I do not know, but how this is really going to, how we going to overcome these hurdles. There are detractors, there are hurdles, there are obstacles, whatever you call it, in the relationship. And it is not being liked. I had also been to Kathmandu some time back, a few months back, and it is not being liked by own people also. When you talk to them, पता लग जाता है उससे. Would you like to add anything on this?
यस सर, नेपाल की बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है वो. जैसे पिछले बार भी हम जब हमने बात किया था, बहुत लोग समझते नहीं है. नेपाल एक बड़ा देश है, छोटा नहीं है, बड़ा देश है. हमारा उत्तराखंड, उत्तर प्रदेश, बिहार और बंगाल, ये चार राज्यों के साथ कनेक्टेड है. चार राज्यों के साथ इनका तालमेल है. नंबर एक. नंबर दो, नेपाल सिट्स ऑन और हार्टलैंड, पूरा गैजेटिक प्लेन, राइट. और एक साइड वो तीस्ता वैली को डोमिनेट करता है. और कहीं से भी अगर चाइना का अगर इनरोड्स हो गया, जैसे रेल लिंक है, वो रेल लिंक काफी नीचे तक आ जाता है. और उनका रेल लिंक से पहले वो रोड लिंक भी आ जाएगा, क्योंकि रेल बनाने के लिए एक रोड भी आ जाएगा साथ साथ. अगर आप सोचिए, अगर कल के दिन पीले का छोटा सा टुकड़ी भी तेराई रीजन में आके बैठ गया कहीं भी नेपाल में, तो हमारा डिफेंसिव पोस्चर के ऊपर क्या होगा, असर क्या होगा. तो आई थिंक नेपाल इज अगर पूरे देशों को अगर हम परखेंगे, तो मेरा हिसाब से सर, नेपाल इज द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट नेबर ऑफ आवर फ्रॉम स्ट्रेटेजिक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, स्पेशली विद रिगार्ड टू चाइना, राइट. बाकी दृष्टिकोण से और बाकी हो सकते हैं. और उसके साथ साथ बांग्लादेश, जो हमारे पूर्वोत्तर राज्यों को कनेक्ट करता है. तो अगर ये दोनों देश हमारे आई वुड से अच्छे संबंध नहीं है, तो हमें ही मुश्किलात होगा, उनको नहीं होगा. बिकॉज बोथ दीज कंट्रीज कैन हेड्ज विद अगेंस्ट अस. सो आई थिंक व्हाट जो आपने सही बोला है कि नेपाल के साथ हमारा जो संबंध है हिस्टोरिक है, पर आज के दिन वो उतना ठीक नहीं है जितना होना चाहिए. और मेरे ख्याल में और हमें कोशिश करना पड़ेगा कि इसको नेक्स्ट लेवल तक कैसे ले जाएं. जैसे आज के दिन हमारा एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर नेपाल में है, वो जॉइंट रिवर्स कमीशन के बारे में बात करना चाहते हैं. वो महाकाली के ऊपर जो बांध बन रहा है पानी का वगैरह, वो बहुत प्रॉब्लम्स है. और नेपाल को जो एनर्जी का पोटेंशियल है, हमें फायदा होगा और उनको भी फायदा होगा. So there are many issues which there are a lot of scope कि नेपाल के साथ संबंध बढ़ाने में दोनों का फायदा होने का बहुत स्कोप है. So your views, sir, then we can go towards Myanmar, finish off the north.
Fortunately, जो बढ़ती हम बोल रहे हैं, in the long term, the interests of Nepal and India are congruent.
Congruent, yes.
China, fortunately for all of us, is not a trustworthy partner.
Yeah.
ठीक है, उनको कोई ट्रस्ट नहीं करता है, कोई भी नहीं ट्रस्ट करता उनको, कोई नेबर नहीं ट्रस्ट करता, कोई कंट्री नहीं ट्रस्ट करता उनको, चाहे अफ्रीका में है, चाहे एशिया में है, चाहे वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में, कोई भी ट्रस्ट नहीं करता, इवन रशिया में ट्रस्ट है, ठीक है ना? सो दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच नेपाल हैज टू अंडरस्टैंड कि चाइना विल use the people of Nepal, use the Nepalese. And what you talk about third country option, that's a very that's an option we'll have to actually factor in. वो चाइना स्टडी सेंटर्स हैं, चाइना विल पंप इन मनी, उनकी जो व्हाट दे कॉल द डेट ट्रैप इज देयर, वी सीन दैट हैपन इन श्रीलंका, वी सीन दैट हैपन इन अदर कंट्रीज, and debt trap is very important, but they put in so much of money. See, even Pakistan also now suffering from that CPEC. So fortunately, I think people realize that, and they will let China come in so much and no more. It's not that Nepal, उनका जो सर्वाइवल है, in the end तो सर्वाइवल इंडिया से, मतलब China can give them connectivity, but that connectivity is limited. It has got major limitations. Whereas the connectivity, land connectivity in India, we have a Nepal corridor, giving them the access to the sea. 800-kilometer long corridor is there. They can move free. India, Nepal is free move. You can just cross over, and they can cross over. You don't need visa. Just need a identity card of issued with the government of Nepal or government of India. Aadhaar card se we can land in Nepal and go with the Aadhaar card. The place come here. They can take on government service, right? So there are economic linkages, people linkages, there are military linkages, and there are congruence between in the national interest also.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about religious linkages.
वो तो है ही है,
वो तो है ही है,
वो तो है ही है,
वो तो है ही है ना।
बुद्धिज्म का है, हिंदुइज्म का है,
बुद्धिज्म का है, राम मंदिर बन रहा है, वहां से भी वहां से आ गए। इंडियंस गो टू पशुपतिनाथ, गो टू गोरखनाथ, मतलब बहुत सारे वो आते हैं यहाँ पर। Then there are linkages with families, the Ranas are married here, these family linkages are there. Then the Madeshis are there. People go across, there are ethnic linkages, there are cultural marriages take place. So I'm sure Nepal understands the Indian
नहीं सर, जैसे वहां बोलते हैं रोटी बेटी का रिश्ता है, तो रिश्ता है तो वो बहुत गहरा रिश्ता है। So Nepal is a this thing जो हमने
But having said that, we should also not take this for granted.
No, we are not. Yes. In fact, sir, मेरा problem ये है कि मेरे ख्याल में at some point of time we have taken it for granted. Correct. And that is why we are having problems with Nepal.
Absolutely, we take it for granted and we promise and don't deliver, and that goes with all our neighborhoods. We talk and don't deliver. Delivery has to be there, and that is something we have to understand. या तो आप बोले नहीं और बोलते हैं तो करिए. I'm not saying in all cases, but in some cases. And जो नहीं होता है ना, लोग उसको हाईलाइट करते हैं, जो हो जाता है उसको हाईलाइट नहीं करते. This is natural thing. जो मिल गया उनको, वो तो भूल गए. जो नहीं मिला वो याद रखा. So I'm not saying that we are very good to our neighbors, but then when you talk about Sagar, security growth of all the region, we have to invest more and more in them.
More and more in all of them. Yes, sir.
There's no other way. And it is not. It is our interest. It is our philosophy. Neighborhood first is our philosophy. It's a vision. South Asia is a very different region. Like I said, they're all new states, very old nations. So we are just about 75.
We have to grow together.
We have to move together. Taking Sri Lanka, I think Sri Lanka had gone away. Actually, India has always helped the nations. We should understand that. Even in Nepal, when King Tribhuvan, when the Ranas took over, and that was talking 1951, he came to India. Then India intervened in the sense that he was the king of Nepal, and he was again 1953. I think 53. He went back and took over the kingdom again. So India did help. Similarly, if you look at Dalai Lama, 57. You look at 71, Bangladesh, right?
We have
You look
helped
at
them.
Sri Lanka. You look at Sri Lanka, 87. The Accord, the Indian peacekeeping forces. You look at Maldives, 1988. I was part of that operation. So we have always helped out. And the best thing about India is, after having done we had to do, helping out at the invitation of our neighbors, we always moved out. Even the any other power, once they move in, they have
They never
either
move
not
out.
moved out or they were forced to move out. Right? India has gone for a specific task. In Sri Lanka, we were there for what, 2 years.
Yes, sir.
Maldives, we were there for, well, we were there for 17 days, 18 days. Bangladesh, we were there 2 weeks. Right? If you look at it, we have always, we're the only country they can, our neighbors, we always gone there, helped them out, moved back. In other places where the other countries have gone to the neighborhood or to anywhere in the world, even this thing, they're not moved out. They continue to stay there. They continue to build roots there, bases there, right? So that is the trust we have. We have
Developed with
created
all
with
of them.
people, developed. But we need to keep talking about it. क्यों हमारी मेमोरी शॉर्ट है ना, भूल जाते हैं इस चीज को.
Yeah, I agree with you,
सच
sir.
बात है. अब
I agree with
1951
you.
किंग ट्रिब्यून किसको याद है? किसी को याद नहीं होगा.
Uh,
71 लोगों को याद है क्योंकि वो बहुत बहुत बड़ी लड़ाई थी. ठीक है.
mm.
श्रीलंका भी हम भूल रहे हैं धीरे
In,
धीरे. मॉलडीव भी हम भूल जाते हैं क्योंकि ठीक है, हम गए, हमने काम किया, वापस आ गए. बट इट इज नॉट द security forces, it is the nation willing to help
mm,
our neighboring nations
neighbors.
when they needed us, when neighbors, and on invitation.
Mm.
हम जबरदस्ती नहीं गए कहीं भी. In Bangladesh, we were forced to go because you know, millions of people just came across and said, आपको help करो. Sheikh Mujib, father of the nation. We got to give a lot of credit in Bangladesh to Mukti जो था, to Mukti Bahini. We have to give credit to them. It was their doing.
Yes, sir.
So that is something which I wanted to highlight in this thing. Even in
No, there's no
Bhutan,
doubt, sir. There's no
even in
doubt.
Bhutan, our treaty with Bhutan is an extent treaty. 2007 treaty is revised in 2007.
Yes.
With Bangladesh, with Nepal also our treaty is there. So we have abided by the treaties. So that is how the trust is there. But at some times, in times of crisis, uh, public sentiment is different. Political angles do come, agendas do come in. तो वो भी हमें देखना पड़ेगा. हमको उसको कैसे उसको हमने मिनिमाइज करना है, वो देखना पड़ेगा. वैसे
Yeah, I agree with you, sir.
श्रीलंका में अभी देखिए, अभी न्यूज आ रही है, उन्होंने चाइनीज शिप आने से मना कर दिया कोलंबो पोर्ट में.
Oh, it's a very great achievement. एक साल के लिए उन्होंने कर दिया, sir.
एक साल मना कर दिया. तो श्रीलंका जो एक टाइम पे हम्बनटोटा पोर्ट पे और हम्बनटोटा पे जो उन्होंने had become a Chinese had become has become almost Chinese property, right? So they realized their mistake and they have taken corrective actions. India helped them out during the economic crisis, major economic crisis, but they're going for elections again, right? And in the elections, I hope and I pray that the right people, the right
Get
dispensation
elected.
comes, which looks after the long-term aspirations of Sri Lanka, and their aspirations align with India. Sri Lanka is very important. No, they align with India. Again, with Sri Lanka, we have ethnic linkages, we have cultural linkages, we have religious linkages. Buddhism is there. The Tamils are there. They sorted out the LTT problem. Hats off to Sri Lankans. The LTT issue is not easy to sort out. They resolved that.
Yeah, yes, sir. There's no
And,
doubt.
we also need the Colombo port is very important to us. It's not that. And again, Indian tourists are most welcome in Sri Lanka. So our trade with Sri Lanka is growing. So I think Sri Lanka has realized the folly of aligning more with the China, and it is now looking after its own interests.
Yeah, I think so, sir. And एक और चीज मैं श्रीलंका के बारे में बताना चाहता हूँ कि जिस श्रीलंकन से मैंने बात किया जो थोड़ा ऊंचे दर्जे में है या एक पद में है, तो उनका बोलना यही है कि सर या पहले भी हमारे साथ जिन्होंने एनडीसी किया है वगैरह वगैरह, तो कहते हैं कि पहले हमने ऑफर किया कोई भी हमारा डेवलपमेंट ऑफर हमने किया है भारत को, क्योंकि भारत वो उठा नहीं सका, तो हमें मजबूरन चाइना के पास जाना पड़ा। वो उसमें सच, थोड़ा सच है और थोड़ा उनका खुद का इंटरेस्ट है, बट देयर इज अ फैक्ट दैट मेनी ऑफ देयर प्रोजेक्ट्स दे हैव ऑफर्ड टू अस एट दैट टाइम, उस वक्त हम ले नहीं पाए। मेरे ख्याल में वो सीजन भी चला गया आजकल, क्योंकि आई डोंट थिंक टुडे श्रीलंका आल्सो रियलाइजेस इट, और वो ज्यादा इंटरनेशनल टेंडरिंग कर नहीं रहे। वैसे अगले 2-3 साल वो कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते, दे हैव टू फर्स्ट रिकवर व्हाट ऑल दे हैव गॉट कॉट इन। सो आई थिंक श्रीलंका, though we have mended lot of fences, there is still a long way to go। और जैसे आपने बोला है कि the Sri Lankan people should be wise enough to select people who matter to them and not to the Chinese or other outside forces. And that is something which we have to look forward to whenever, as and when the elections are declared. And I think the things will right itself. I'm very optimistic about Sri Lanka. I mean, your views on it.
Yeah, I'm optimistic on Sri Lanka. I think the problem is Maldives.
Yeah.
Right. With the present display in Maldives, traditionally our neighbors are very kind to us. First port of call after the government is India. Right. So Maldives, this time they have not done that. I believe the president is going to China. But so be it. It's a sovereign
I
country.
think he
It's
went to Turkey first, sir. Of all
Turkey.
things, he went
Yeah,
to Turkey.
yeah. He went to Turkey first, but that was for an international thing, so it is
Oh,
not a
yes.
bilateral one. But these are indicators. These are indicators, and the messages coming out. They're not going to renew the hydrographic agreement. They want, the Indian military is not there. I think this is something which is Indian military is there at the behest of. They want to withdraw it. There is some sort of a political agenda in anti-India, but Modi has realized uh, that China will only invest in Maldives for its own benefits, not for the benefit of the Maldivians. Right? And so Maldives has realized that their linkages are with India, education-wise, medical-wise. Maldivian people go to either come to India or they go to Singapore or Sri Lanka. So and it's a small country. I'm sorry using the word small country. It's a small island nations are there.
Oh, it's a
So
small nation. It's a
small,
small territory. It's a
yeah,
very
small
small
territory.
territory,
Yeah, the
isn't
real
it?
estate is very little,
Yeah.
and so they will need India in the long run. They cannot be, and they're important for the IUR region. There's no doubt about it. They've understood the strategic importance. They've understood the importance they have to China. Uh, but in terms, even when the Maldives operation in 1988 was launched, Maldivians had first requested the US, the Russia, the Soviet Union, then the Pakistanis, the Singaporeans, the UK, and only Indians at no notice went in, right, to help out. So I think Maldives economically, we'll have to look at economic linkages because economic linkages is very, very important. We mostly looking at security, and security and economy go together. Unfortunately, the complete region, uh, South Asian region, uh, we don't integrated economically. So that integration, India will have to look at how we can get together and have a economic integration. Only 5% of the total trade, formal trade. I'm talking formal trade, not talking informal trade. Right? तो informal trade तो बहुत ज़्यादा है. The formal trade जो है, only 5% is within the region. 95% outside the region. So economically, if we are interdependent, uh, even let's say in China and Japan are interdependent. China and US are interdependent economically. So when you talk about Maldives, we'll have to wait and watch how long can they survive. Because like last time also, the Chinese came in, they made the friendship bridge, they invested money, they had an island, and suddenly the Maldivians realized that this is not good for them. So they were back into, they came to India and they're back to China. So I think this is the alternate thing. Either they'll be pro-China or pro-India. So that is going to continue. But I think Maldives is a little bit of a worry for India. China wants to hem us in. We are doing rather well. Containment of India. Let's see how it comes out, because I
Oh,
think
let's see how it goes. ये इस इलाके
Maldives
में
realize their folly. It's a strategic mistake there.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of wait and watch in Maldives, sir. So let's wait and watch. So let's talk a little about Afghanistan. How do you
Yeah,
see
before we go to
things
Afghanistan, let's
changing?
also talk of our maritime neighbors.
Okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
Now, I think the Act East, the Act East policy, that is very important. And for that, we'll have to look inwards and resolve the Manipur issue.
Oh, you're talking about Myanmar, Manipur is something which
Yeah,
is very critical.
yeah. Act East, in that, when you talk of Thailand, Malaysia, the East,
Malaysia.
the Act East policy. Talk of Afghanistan. Afghanistan, very interesting. We thought that with time, Afghanistan will be controlled by Pakistan, because when the common formulation was there, the ISI chief was there for the common formulation, and the big statements coming out of I think it was 15th of August 2021, when the US moved out, बड़ी statements आई कि पाकिस्तान ने सबसे पहले सोवियत यूनियन को यूएसए की मदद से हराया, फिर उन्होंने तालिबान की मदद से उन्होंने यूएसए को हराया, लेकिन उन्होंने ये नहीं बोला कि अब पाकिस्तान अपनी मदद से अपने आप को हराएगा. ठीक है? Look, they did, and I said so. I said so in August of 2021. I said Pakistan is riding the tiger. They don't know how to get off the tiger now.
और
And
टाइगर कहा जाएगा उसको, sir?
They will be defeated by their own. Today, the same thing is coming, right? And you find, a change where Afghanistan and India relations are getting back
to normal. I won't say normal, to old times.
Old times, right? Old times. Why I say that is, again, because the people of Afghanistan see that India was a true friend. Okay. Pakistan not a true friend. Pakistan was
No, there's no doubt.
Pakistan wanted Afghanistan for various reasons. Okay, economic reasons, the army reasons, various reasons, right? So I think in Afghanistan, but we should be firm, sure-footed, and reach out again. And again, get onto the economy part of it, and a Chabar port, and get back the road, that Delaram Zaram road, get those projects going again after some time. Maybe. No, time should not be a constraint. Time is about time in our pass. I think Afghanistan is realized, and it should be a case study for the other countries also, that if Afghanistan has realized that
value
India
of India,
help out, value of India.
I want to give a small thing about Afghanistan, sir. And this is my personal experience. When you talk of people to people contact, ये 5 साल पहले की बात है. We went to USA, or we caught a Ola, not Ola, sir. वहाँ क्या ये Uber. So this way we had gone for our son's graduation. तो जैसे हमने शुरू किया गाड़ी के अंदर, तो वो that chap started speaking to me in Hindi. तो लग रहा था अंग्रेज, बट हिंदी. जैसे उसने हिंदी बात किया, तो आई रियलाइज इज अफगान. वो बात करते करते हम मंजिल तक वी वेंट टू आवर डेस्टिनेशन. उसने छोड़ दिया. उसके बाद उसने पैसा नहीं लिया हमसे. कहता आप तो इंडियन हो. शाहरुख खान ही नहीं सर. शाहरुख खान तो बहुत बड़ी चीज है. कहता आप इंडियन हो, आप हमें मदद करते हो, बस आपसे हम पैसा नहीं लेंगे. I was actually embarrassed कि इतना दूर आके आज तक किसी ने मेरे को, किसी और देशवासी ने मेरे से ऐसे मदद भी नहीं, ऐसे नहीं हुआ कि किसी ने ये बोला कि भाई आप इंडियन हो, आपसे हम पैसा नहीं लेंगे. इनफैक्ट दिस इज द ओनली थिंग which has happened. So I think there's a lot of connect
Yeah,
with
and cricket,
on this.
medical diplomacy, cricket diplomacy.
See, after all, their cricket team is based in India, Delhi.
Yeah,
So there are a lot of this thing. So I think we are on a okay wicket with Afghanistan, and we just have to continue with this. But I would like to get back to Myanmar's and what you आपने थोड़ा बहुत बोला मणिपुर के
नहीं
बारे में.
बोला नहीं म्यांमार के बारे में because I want to touch it at the last before Pakistan.
Okay.
म्यांमार में जो मिलिट्री जनता है एंड तामादाव उनके लोग उनके सोल्जर्स वेपन लेके क्रॉस कर रहे हैं. So that there is a concern. Unfortunately, in Myanmar, west of Irrawaddy is mainly not well administered. Governance नहीं है वहाँ पर. And we have. I was reading the papers yesterday that India wants to do. There's a free move regime. You've been there, and we've all been there. So the free move regime is 16 किलोमीटर जो है either side of the border. Free move है. कोई भी आ जा सकता है 16 किलोमीटर. 16 किलोमीटर 10 मील हो गए. And पुरानी चली आ रही है. Now India wants to now do it with a free move regime, and rightly so. But my point is that if we do a free move, how do we implement it? Because there are 300 plus informal crossing points. कहीं भी आ जा सकते हैं. It's a very difficult area.
Yes.
That 1641 kilometers of the India-Myanmar border is all very difficult area. It's very porous. And again, the borders are created by states, not by people. मतलब आधे लोग यहाँ रहते हैं, उसका मामा चाचा ताऊ उधर रहते हैं. तो एलसी पे भी है, इंडिया पाकिस्तान बॉर्डर पे भी एलसी पर है ये. तो वहां तो बहुत ज्यादा है. ट्राइबल एफिनिटीज है. आधी ट्राइब इधर, आधी ट्राइब उधर है, रिलेटिव्स उधर है. सो म्यांमार वी फाइंड द पीपल आ रहे हैं, दे आर डिस्टर्बिंग द बैलेंस. जो वहां से आए हैं, चिन्स हैं, मिजोरम में आए हैं, अभी उनके सोल्जर्स आए हैं इन बिग नंबर्स विद वेपन्स, एंड दे कम इन. So I think I think this needs to be taken care of and stopped, because we cannot have influx of people coming to the northeastern states and disturb the very delicate, fragile balance in northeastern states.
Yes, sir. In fact, मेरा मानना ये है कि we have not taken enough steps or enough initiatives in Myanmar to help them out in their situation. I'm not saying help the army out. I'm not saying help the democracy forces out. I'm not saying help the smugglers out. वहां तो स्मगलिंग जैसा पता है, आपको पता है, I've done a program on that. That Myanmar has now become the biggest drug producing state in the world, nation in the world. और वहां का जो ड्रग इकोनॉमी है, something close to $25 billion, which even China is finding it difficult to handle. In fact, the bigger problem of Myanmar is with China today.
Yeah.
So we have to get more involved with Myanmar. One, it helps our own states, right from Arunachal Pradesh to Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. Yes, all this. Plus, it also actually, sir, gives us a handle against China. Actually speaking, अगर आप पूरा पढ़ेंगे तो चाइना के साथ हम ये टर्न अराउंड कर सकते हैं. ये एक अपॉर्चुनिटी है. We are not using it. That's my view. I mean,
चाइना के साथ भी, और हमारी एक्ट ईस्ट पॉलिसी, कनेक्टिविटी टू साउथ ईस्ट एशिया इज थ्रू म्यांमार.
उसी के थ्रू जाता है. And if our trilateral highway goes through Mandalay and on to Thailand, so all these areas will get normalized, because जहां भी road जाता है and development होता है, things start normalizing over a period of time. For some reason, we have not been able to
See,
make headway.
I think in Myanmar, let me give it a military viewpoint. No, we want to change the way the Indian-Myanmar border is managed. Little understanding that we should not change, we should upgrade. The difference between changing and upgrading, right?
Yes,
When you say upgrade, you review, you see what is the requirement today, what is the requirement tomorrow, and then you plan long. But we want to change that. We want to change that for reasons of our own internal, you know, uh, systems. Because border management division is the Ministry of Home Affairs. Assam Rifle comes under the operation under the army, which is under the Ministry of Defense. But the Assam Rifle is there for 200 years. वो चप्पा चप्पा जानते हैं. So what is the need for change? It is one nation. Right? If Assam Rifle is the border guarding force on the Indo-Myanmar border, let it be there Assam Rifles. And there's a linkage between uh, what the Assam Rifle border guarding does and what the Assam Rifles does in counter-terrorist operations. अगर आप दो फोर्स डाल देंगे बीच में तालमेल नहीं रहेगा उनका. अभी हम
yes, sir.
300 किलोमीटर की वहां पर फेंस बना रहे हैं. Fences got utility. I'm not saying that, but it is very difficult. You want to separate people. It's very difficult. That border is totally, it can't be manned the way we man the LC. LC is very difficult. It needs very high resource. Is it cost effective? I don't know. I don't really think so.
No,
But you find out
and sir,
other ways and means of denying the migration which is taking place, which is economic, which is political asylum, which is even the military personnel coming through now with weapons. Find the right solutions in the long.
that I think we need to think more on this. Because एक तरफा solution अगर हम वहाँ डाल देंगे, तो it will only create more problems for all four of our states and Manipur.
वो सालों से बोल रहे हैं वहां पर BSF डाल दो, वहां पर ITBP डाल दो, ये कर दो. My point is, don't change for the sake of change.
Change.
Right?
एक valid reason होना चाहिए.
You want to upgrade the border management, review it. Please go ahead. It is done. Review it every year. उसको करें. But change for the sake of change is not good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, sir. So let's talk a little about Pakistan, sir, and where Pakistan is heading.
Pakistan elections है 8 फरवरी को. Limited choices उनके पास. But I feel Pakistan elections have got very little bearing on either the
How
people of
Pakistan will
Pakistan
behave.
or how Pakistan will change or not change. Because the control will continue to rest with the army. Right? So whichever government comes to power, it is not going to, the India policy is not going to change. Pakistan's approach to various things are not going to change. Pakistan economic condition, I hope it changes for the better. If it doesn't change, there are problems. Pakistan internal security situation is going to worsen. Pakistan relations with Afghanistan are in a low ebb. China is taking full advantage. Pakistan is becoming a client state of China actually. It's getting into debt and debt. So I only hope, and we would like a stable, reasonably stable Pakistan. Right.
I think so,
So
sir.
Pakistan challenge will continue because how to change Pakistan's behavior in the mid to long term is, I think, India's second biggest challenge. I'm not saying the biggest challenge. Biggest challenge is still China. Right? But the second biggest challenge is how to change Pakistan's behavior in the mid to long term. And that we don't see happening. Fortunately, our policy of no talks till terror is there is working wonders. We should start ignoring Pakistan totally. Because they seek parity with India, don't give them parity, don't talk about it. Hai. So I think this policy of terror and talks don't go together, I think it's a wonderful policy. Total silence. and it is working well. It is working very well. So it's a question of who, ठीक है, they are neighbors, fine, but you sort out your own internal house first. हमको अब तंग करते हो, and like I was saying, LC, they have to, Pakistan is not mending its ways. They are trying to keep the J&K issue alive.
Issue alive.
But more scary than the terrorists, the drugs there, the drugs that are coming from Pakistan. टेररिज्म में क्या हो रहा है कि 2-4 हाई विजिबिलिटी अटैक्स हो गए हैं, बट ओवरऑल इट्स अबाउट 80% वायलेंस लेवल्स आर लेस. जो ये पुंछ में हुआ है, एंड आई वाज द जीओसी देयर, यू वर आल्सो देयर,
Yes.
ठीक है, बट ये हाई विजिबिलिटी अटैक्स हैं, ठीक है, एंड व्हाटएवर दे आर देयर, बट they don't reflect on the people of GM, their aspirations, right? वहां पर काफी चेंजेस फॉर द गुड आए हैं. More is required. We've got to consolidate. So Pakistan is making sure that Kashmir issue remains alive by the high visibility attacks, which we had to deny to them. And I think this will, from Pakistan's side, all endeavors will be there to continue. And elections in Pakistan don't matter very much. But one thing on Pakistan which has happened, which we need to keep note of, is the 9th May incident, where the people, in a moment of frustration, went and burned military establishments. That has never happened.
Yeah, first time.
First time. So there is a groundswell. There is a groundswell among the people that the army may not be the right thing for Pakistan. Not in all sections, but some people. So I think the election in Pakistan, wherever it goes, nothing would change. Nawaz Sharif comes back. He's tried earlier also. He reached out earlier. And when Mr. Modi was sworn as the Prime Minister, he was invited, he came. There were talks in Ufa. Mr. Modi had visited Pakistan on his birthday. It's a surprise when he's coming back in Lahore. So he is likely, but then he may not be allowed to. So I think Pakistan will continue to be what it is.
Right, sir. So we've covered all our neighbors except China. China looms over this entire neighborhood like a dark cloud, as the way I look at it. And that's going to be a major challenge.
One more election coming out of Taiwan.
Taiwan. So maybe
So,
we'll.
it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, so you and I will talk of Taiwan and China and India, and with the neighbors in our next talk, somewhere around the time when Taiwan elections are happening. So, because I think we need to discuss China on a separate footing altogether.